Good morning, light seekers. I'm Am Lee, your everyday light worker, and I'm here today to talk about the upcoming energies for July, which are going to be very intense. So, buckle up. Let's get ready to hold the light. Okay, so I'm going to bring you some information about the energy for July. And I want to talk a little bit about how I get my information about energy updates, because energy updates are the reason that I even got into light work and light workers at all. I've always been someone who can feel energy. I talked about this in one of my earlier videos. I walk into a room and I can feel the energy of that room, and based on what's happening in that room with the energy, I know how I need to be and how I need to adjust my frequencies. So, with that said, I'm in Richmond, Virginia, and the energy changes based on where you're located. So, the energy here in Richmond feels very agitated, and a lot of people are very concerned about it. And I'll get into why that is in a moment. But as far as the energy updates go, I listen to a number of light workers who do predictions for the energy. And one of the ones that I have found to be very reliable is Kira of Shri and Kira. So Shri and Kira is this light working couple. They've been around for years and they live in Ecuador. They have a retreat in Ecuador where they do all kinds of they're ascension coaches basically. So they're teaching people about the ascension process and how to navigate the ascension process. And there are some people are much further along in this process than others. So for example, Shri and Kira, they've been doing this work for a long time. They really understand better than most how to navigate the higher energies and the higher frequencies with regard to concepts like the law of attraction or the law of instant manifestation, which they were discussing this month. How we're moving into a time on the earth grid, the earth plane, where the law of instant manifestation is fully operational for people like them. If you're not accustomed to working with the frequencies, that's not going to be the case. You're going to have to really delve in to understanding how to work with energy, frequency, vibration. This is what Nikola Tesla said you need to understand if you want to understand the secrets of the universe. You have to understand how to work with energy, frequency, and vibration, because really that's all there is here. When we look out and what we see in terms of a 3D grid, um, we think we're seeing, things that are solid, but it's all really just energy. I know that's really hard to believe, but it's true. Ask a quantum physicist. It's all really just energy. And so, how we um, perceive that energy, how we create with that energy, depends on what's going on with us and the frequencies that we are emitting. So, now more than ever, it's really important for us to get really clear on what frequency do we want to reside in. I reside mainly in a frequency of peace, but if you can get into joy or gratitude or just love, when you really get into those higher vibration frequencies, life is like a dream. Like it just rolls along so smoothly. So I've done that. I've been in higher frequencies and been like, whoa, this is so much more fun when you're in these higher frequencies. Staying there is difficult when you've been really brainwashed by the 3D programming, and most of us have. Most of us, just all our lives, we've been just deeply brainwashed into this 3D grid, and the 3D grid loves to suck you down into lower energies like scarcity. Oh my God, there's not enough. Fear. Oh my God, someone is going to hurt me. 3D loves to keep us in that state of anxiety and fear because it runs off of those energies. It really just runs off of energies of the egoic energies, which are based in lack or separation. There's you and then there's me, and we're in competition and we got to fight with one another. 3D loves that kind of energy and feeds off of that kind of energy. We're at a state and time in human history where we as a human species, we're moving out of that energy. We're moving from egoic consciousness to unity consciousness. And in that consciousness, everything just operates really differently. So that's what we're trying to learn, how to be in unity consciousness, because that is the 5D consciousness. So, but we have to learn it because we've been brainwashed by 3D for so long. So I'm just going to look at my notes to make sure I hit all of my points. All right, so the energy. All right, so I want to tell you what Kira said about the energy. Kira said that we've got this divine female energy rising, and it has been rising for the last couple of years at least. We've just seen the divine energy, and this doesn't have anything to do with your gender. It just has to do with a certain kind of energy that has a certain feel to it. So the divine feminine energy is a very compassionate, loving, and giving energy. That energy has been rising for the past couple of years. However, um, we also have this divine, this masculine energy, not so divine, that is really separated. That's the egoic consciousness. So the energy that has been ruling 3D for forever, probably the last 2,000 years, maybe even as long as the last 26,000 years, if you look at the Mayan calendar and how that works. Hard to say how long this toxic masculine energy has been controlling things, but it's been in control of the 3D grid for a while, and that rigid, dark, dense masculine energy is going to throw a temper tantrum. And so that's what definitely seeing that play out here in Richmond with regard to peaceful protesters being peaceful at these monuments and the police um, getting into that darker, toxic, demanding, forceful, masculine energy, trying to make them leave. So there's just been a showdown here in Richmond between those two energies, and it's very polarized here, and everyone feels some kind of way about the energies. So in Richmond, we're seeing that play out, especially with the Confederate monuments, because that's what the protesting are mainly about. All the protesters are at the General E. Lee Monument. And for those of you who are not in the United States, or even if you are in the United States, you may not know your history, because I didn't know this until these protests came about. So General E. Lee was the general who fought the Civil War in the United States. And this was a war about slavery. No matter what anyone tells you, that's what it was about. It was about the South wanted to keep people enslaved and having the ability to do the most horrific, horrible things to people in this institution of slavery. And the North didn't want to do that, not because the North was so super moral. I mean, yes, there are people fighting on the side of the North who did have that higher morality that was saying that it wasn't right. But really, it was just the North is like, I don't want to be bothered with slavery. It's just too much of a hassle for me in my northern world and what I'm doing, and you South need to leave me alone about this. So it was a war that was fought over some really dense 3D issues. And this guy, General Lee, was a really horrible, he was really into some psychopathically horrible 3D energy, enslaving people, torturing people, raping people, killing people. So the demand for the statue to come down is a demand for this kind of energy to crumble. And that's what's happening. The 3D grid is crumbling. Um, but there are a lot of people who are holding on to that old 3D masculine energy, and they really want the statue to stay up. President Trump, for example, is someone who really is advocating for those dark 3D energies. And people are holding on to those energies um, out of fear because they don't really know what would take its place. And that is a fear of a lot of people, that okay, if we take down the 3D structures, what will take its place? And so that's where the light workers come in. We are the people who are supposed to be envisioning what is going to take the place of these 3D structures crumbling and falling down. We have to have the idea of the 5D crystalline grid is what it's called. Um, I can't imagine it. But the 5D is what is being built to replace 3D. And so with that, our job, as everyday light workers, our job is to hold the light. So one thing that we're going to discuss with regard to holding the light is declaring sovereignty. So a lot of people have a lot of fears about a lot of things that are going on in 3D. There's talk of vaccines. People don't want to have to take vaccines, or sometimes they do, just depending on, where you stand on all of these issues. But 3D is just really trying to reinforce itself. And by that, it's just trying to really gain control over people by any means necessary, gaining control over their hearts and their minds any way that it can. So the vaccines are a part of it. Um, the money system, a lot of weird things going on with our money system. That's a part of it, because that is a part of the way that 3D maintains control over people and their minds. So that whole monetary system has got so much 3D programming up in it. Um, and a lot of that is just really coming to the forefront right now, in terms of, is the old monetary system going to prevail, or are we going to have something new pop up like Bitcoin? um, a lot, you can just see a lot of back and forth with the 3D versus the 5D concepts, ideas, and structures. So with regard to 3D trying to get you personally to do anything you don't want to do, you need to make a declaration of sovereignty. And Matt, um, at Quantum of Consciousness, talked about this maybe a week ago. And he wants to write a declaration of spiritual independence, which is a great idea. And like I said, even though Matt doesn't consider himself a light worker, these are light worker concepts. So declaring your sovereignty it's a really important thing to do right now, because people are feeling just put on upon and overly oppressed, especially with the COVID-19 epidemic, pandemic, and the whole sheltering in place. People are feeling really oppressed by what 3D is demanding from us, to wear a mask, not to wear a mask. People are feeling really oppressed by that. And so it takes Lori Ladd to talk about how to respond to these 3D programmings without getting caught up in it. But almost everyone is saying, all the light workers that I'm listening to are saying that we need to declare our sovereignty. So you can simply do that by saying, I am sovereign. I no longer agree to participate in the lack, scarcity, fear based 3D paradigms. So let's say that again. I am sovereign. I no longer agree to participate in the lack, scarcity, fear based 3D paradigms. Just refuse to do it. That's how I started out this year. I was like, I am not doing this anymore. I'm just not. I can't. Like, I didn't have the energy within myself to do it anymore. Like, everything, like, it was just weird, because, I've lived in 3D and I've worked the 3D mechanisms and the 3D matrix all my life. I'm an attorney. There's nothing that's more 3D than that. Trust. Um, but I just felt energetically within myself, and I have been feeling this for a while, but, you know, I'm like, where am I going to go? Like, I would say since 2014, I was like, I can't do this 3D bull anymore. It doesn't make any sense. It's so twisted. It's so sick. It's so backwards. I can't participate in this reality anymore. But I was like, where am I going to go? This is the reality that I have to live in. Well, what am I going to do? Am I going to die? What am I going to do? But, so, I soldiered on trying, but I've slowly fallen out of 3D. That's been a story about how over the past 7 years, I've been, trying to work 3D, but then being like, nope, I can't do it. And then going back into 3D and getting kicked out of 3D. I can tell you some stories about that journey. A lot of people, especially a lot of light workers, have been on that journey of trying to work 3D, but then just not being able to anymore. So this year, I was like, I'm not doing it. I got to find another way. And since I've made that declaration, I have pretty much resided in the fourth dimension, which I enjoy. It's just a really peaceful place. As you can see, I'm here in Richmond, Virginia. I'm sitting out on my patio of my apartment building, and it's beautiful, beautiful scenery. Let me turn my camera around so you can see what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing. And this is how I live day to day. I work from home, and I just live in a largely incredible, peaceful reality. Richmond is in a very agitated state right now, but not for me. Whenever I go out, all I see, there's a lot of just wonderful, beautiful parks around here. So that's what I see when I go out. I see just beauty and nature and abundance. So that's what I want to talk about as well. I want to talk about abundance. So, after you declare your sovereignty, and like I said, it's just that simple. Refuse to participate. You got to make a choice, though, with how you decide to use your energy. It's a choice that you're making, that we're all making. What are you paying attention to? What are you giving your energy to? So after you say, you know what, 3D, I'm not doing it anymore. After you make that choice, then what do? You then have to be really clear on how you are using your energy. So we got to practice our sovereignty, because the 3D programming has tricked all of us into believing that they are sovereign over us, but that's not true, and it's time to reclaim it. So, because the energy is moving really, really fast, we're going to have to learn really quickly how to work with, our own energy, our own sovereign energy, to create the kind of reality we want. And so for July, I'm kicking off this 21-day abundance consciousness challenge. And the purpose of this challenge is to teach you how to direct your energy um, to the abundance that's all around you, so that that is what you are creating. So the challenge involves a daily meditation practice with Deepak Chopra, as well as different activities that I provide guidance on for you to do every day for 21 days. And doing this challenge makes you feel, it definitely starts to move you to those higher frequencies and vibrations. And that's the goal. So I also provide practical tips for busting up out of the 3D paradigms, and I will provide explanations of the kind of 3D brainwashing and traps that are in the 3D grid, as well as how you counter those traps in that training to escape the 3D grid. So the escape happens from inside of our minds. Our minds are very powerful, and we will use them to continue creating 3D, or we'll use them to create our own reality consciously as opposed to unconsciously, which is what you're doing when you're in the 3D matrix grid. You're letting that programming, a lot of it comes from television, a lot of it comes from, the institutions that we've maltriculated through, or the families that we've grown up in. But they got it from this programming. And where that programming comes from, wow, there's a lot of rabbit holes there. So if you want to go into the rabbit holes of where the programming comes from, check out Matt's Quantum of Consciousness. Matt's channel, Quantum of Consciousness, because he really, really, he breaks it down, man. It's spooky. He breaks down a lot of spooky stuff about the 3D matrix and how it has created a really illusory and dark and nefarious reality. And it's spooky. I can't mess with it for too much, because it really, when you realize how there's this dark force that is, just grabbing hold of your consciousness and moving it the way it wants to, it will scare you. Um, but the good news is you are sovereign, and that's what you need to realize, that you're sovereign. You declare your sovereignty, and you don't give it any power over you. It's always your choice. But as the energies become more polarized, you have to choose. You have to decide not to choose to reside in those fear paradigms, because they're getting louder, they're getting more aggressive, and they are trying to grab hold of every single mind that they can right now. So you can find my abundance challenges, daily challenges on Medium. So I write on Medium, I write about light work as Am Lee, your everyday light worker, and I'll put a link to the abundance challenge below this video. Because the energies are so polarized, during doing this work is going to seem difficult and overwhelming at first, but I want you to know that every little bit that you do is helping not only to shift your consciousness, but the collective consciousness. So a lot of people are doing this work with us. I can't even begin to tell you how many people jumped onto that abundance challenge and are enjoying the abundance challenge that I placed on Medium. So um, let's get to it. Let's do this work. Let's shift this consciousness. Um, Namaste. The light in me. Recognize the light in you. And love you guys. Let's get to it. Emily, everyday light worker.